Papa's favorite picture of you as a baby. See, look. Oh, who's that baby? With Meredith, she was so unwell in those first few years. Meredith also has a hip that's acting up right now, so it's hard to get her positioned into the standing frame. Not sure where she ends and we begin. It's almost like we're this one kind of unit.
We're very close. We're very codependent. I'm keeping her straight this morning.
I know, she's really crooked. Initially, we didn't have a lot of support.
You almost feel like a failure if you can't do everything on your own.
Okay, let's go. We never anticipated that Meredith would be going into adulthood. Ready again? Ready?
We want her to be happy, we want her to be comfortable, and we want her to have as good a life as she can.
The concept of a family is ever-changing. Each family experiences its own set of unique joys, struggles, and successes. Join Canadian families in the disability community on journeys of growth, self-discovery, adaptability, and strength.
We are the Keon-Graham family, and we are one. She loves children, she loves people, just adults around her. She loves silly games. Woohoo! Look at all the bubbles! Woohoo! Woo! Singing, music, sparkly things, light up things. My name is Julie Keon, and I am the mother to Meredith. I think with Meredith, she was so, unwell in those first few years that it was a necessity that we held her, and it wasn't easy. It was very difficult, but I feel sometimes that she is not sure where she ends and we begin. It's almost like we're this one kind of unit. That's Papa's favorite picture of you as a baby. See, look. Oh, who's that baby?
My name's Tim Graham. I'm 51 years old and a proud father of Meredith. We just kind of pick up on her non-verbal cues, like how she acts to things. She'll arch when she's excited, but she'll also arch when she's in pain or disturbed by something. So you just kind of get to learn the arches and the little moans that she makes and how to interpret them. And then I talk to her sometimes, she probably doesn't understand, but just kind of goofy, and we have some pretty good conversations sometimes, one way, but they're good conversations. Can we put on his glasses? Yeah. Do you want to try them on? Watch this. Okay, you put on my glasses. Oh, look at you. Wow.
Julie's work as a birth doula and life cycle celebrant allowed her to celebrate major milestones in others' lives. And when she was pregnant, she and Tim thought they had everything planned out.
I think that Tim and I put a lot of thought and planning into the birth experience, into the postpartum. I know that I would wake up in my pregnancy during the night terrified that I was going to have a baby with colic. That was like my big fear. I had a tremendous fear of having postpartum depression. So yeah, but I definitely expected to have a healthy baby. It was never imagined anything else.
During the final moments of labor, they recognized that Meredith was in distress.
She was flat, she was gray, and not breathing. So we immediately knew then that there was a problem, and then, we ended up in the ambulance and at the hospital, and then flown by helicopter to Chio. And
at that point, they told us that, we had to wait the 48 hours and hopefully she survived. She did. And then we were told at 5 days old, when she had an MRI, that she had brain damage.
And that's when it really, honestly, it was probably a few days after that it really sank in as to how serious it was.
Meredith was diagnosed with cerebral palsy.
When they told us, they said, she's going to, on the spectrum, she's going to be a child who is really clumsy. I remember the neurologist saying that. Or on the far end of the spectrum, she'll have cerebral palsy, which he said we're leading towards that end of the spectrum. So, I remember driving home that night. My father was driving me back, and I remember thinking, we're going to do everything possible for this child to have a wonderful life. And I remember that feeling of like, this is huge, and this is probably going to be the biggest thing that we have to face in our lives, and we're going to do it really well. That was my feeling, but I was terrified.
Medical complications meant that the new parents couldn't bring Meredith home for 11 weeks after her birth. And, in fact, they spent much of the first year at the hospital.
She started having seizures. She had a bowel obstruction at one point. She's fed through a tube through her stomach, so there was some complications with that. Mm-hmm. There just always seemed to be some little thing, and I'm sure some of it was us not knowing, not having that confidence either. Mm-hmm. So you go running back to the hospital because you're like, what the heck is going on? Mm-hmm. But after that first year, we had her home more and more. I remember it seemed to be every time we surpassed the milestone of having her home longer than in the hospital, we'd end up with another extended stay in the hospital.
We had a few trials, and then we brought her home for good in February of 2004, and she was very, very sick. And, we were adjusting to feeding tube and seizures and just this tremendous unknown. And, it was really shattering to just everything that we had planned, our beliefs about things, our relationship, like everything was, it's like somebody just pulled the rug out from underneath us.
Personally, I went into survival mode. Julie's much more in tune with what you need to do this for the long haul. I kind of approached it as a sprint, and I just, tried to suffer through it and work through it as well as I could, thinking it was a short-term thing. But we learned after a while to work with each other and to learn when to tap out, when to let the other take over, and to do it in shifts. And it went much smoother once we started working as a team instead of two individuals.
Where are the bubbles?
Oh yeah, watch this. Whoa!
Whoa! Whoa! What's he doing?
We are one.
We are one. You're being very patient. You are. You're being very patient. Oh, is there a cotton thing that was here?
I did not. Oh, there it is.
Thank you.
With Meredith's diagnosis, Tim and Julie had to change their parenting expectations, but their goal for their daughter never changed.
If you look at it like in the big picture, we all want what's best for our children, right? And we're no different in that sense, where we want her to be happy, we want her to be comfortable, and we want her to have as good a life as she can. And I think that's something we can all relate to with her.
Meredith is nonverbal and is also unable to walk.
Meredith also has a hip that's acting up right now, so it's hard to get her positioned into the standing frame. Hey?
Giving her as good a life as possible meant Julie and Tim's sole focus would be on the care of their daughter, which also meant coming together as a team.
I would say that, yeah, we're very close. We're very codependent. We do everything together out of necessity a lot of the times.
We're like the poster children for attachment parenting. Keeping your child within arm's length. We've been doing that for 17 years. We've held her in our arms for all of these years, and we're with her all the time. Even when somebody is here with her, we're still checking in constantly. When she was about three and a half,
yep.
I was kissing her neck, and she started to make a sound. And I thought, that sounds like a laugh. She had never laughed before. So I just kept really, kissing her neck, kissing really vigorously, and then she started to laugh. And we couldn't believe it. We were overjoyed. It took 3 years to hear her laugh.
What if I gave you a kiss on your neck? I almost get teary thinking about it now. It was such a beautiful sound and such a normal thing, and it was one of those milestones that we'd never hit. You tried not to get too caught up on milestones, but that was one of those ones that we were so happy that she finally was able to do that, and it was a beautiful sound. I still love to hear her laugh. It's a goofy laugh that she has, but it's amazing. Yeah. Give me that hand. You give me that hand.
Life expectancy of a child with cerebral palsy can vary. The degree of impairment or severity plays an important role in its determination. Children with a milder form could go on to live long lives. Meredith's predicted life expectancy, however, was only 8 years old. Life can be unpredictable, though. And happily for Julie, Tim, and Meredith, it was.
The life expectancy of 7, 8 moved then to 10 to 12, or 10 to 15, but not likely past 12. So we kept going with these life expectancies. And so once she hit 15 or 16, I think we were like, we're done with the life expectancies, because it really does mess with your mind.
There was a bit of a, I don't know if I call it a honeymoon period, but there was a bit of a sigh of relief that we made it, but then there's always that threat in the background that we're on borrowed time. But I try not to dwell on that as much as just to be thankful. We're it sounds weird to say, but we're very fortunate to know that she has a short life expectancy. A lot of people don't get that luxury, right? Mm-hmm. So we try to approach that where every day is, it sounds corny, but every day is a gift, and really enjoy our time. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Do you want to take a minute?
So yeah, we just try not to take anything for granted.
We never anticipated that Meredith would be going into adulthood. So where we are right now is a really significant time in our parenting.
Plans were being made for Meredith's 18th birthday.
I think we're going to have her caregivers will come because they're in our home anyway, and a few family members, and big cake and lots of candles because she loves candles. And it's a big birthday, so yeah, we'll celebrate in some way for sure. She's not going to change a whole lot, except that she's an adult. And we lose, a lot of our supports through CHEO and Roger Nielsen House, which is the pediatric hospice in Ottawa. Her physicians and therapists and all the things that we've known, it's all going to change. So, but right now I feel like the last few years we've been in this really beautiful sweet spot where we have all found our footing, where Meredith is a little bit more predictable. She's had the odd kind of, crisis here and there, but she's relatively stable right now. And so, we go into her adulthood with, we're happy that she's still with us, of course. And we just really take it one day at a time. We've learned not to get too anxious about the future.
As Meredith got older, Julie had the opportunity to write What I Would Tell You, an essay and then a book filled with reflections that she hoped would connect with parents who needed support as they navigated the world of parenting a medically fragile child.
There were people out there that were just, in a NICU somewhere getting this news, and I wish there was a book whenever I had Meredith. I remember going to the library at CHEO and looking for books, and they were all kind of more clinical or, equipment and things you'll need for your child who has cerebral palsy, or you will dream new dreams, that kind of thing. And I just felt there wasn't something that was helpful for me at the time, so I just decided to write that book.
We are one. We are one.
Stretch that arm up.
Meredith requires constant care, and the support systems needed to provide it at the most critical times weren't always available.
In the years that it was the most difficult, where she was not stable, where she was being held 15 hours a day, we didn't have a lot of support. So I always look back at that time, and any memory I do have of that time, it still astounds me that we were able to do that. The help came gradually, but it wasn't until she was 10 that we really, the supports really increased.
It would have been nice to have more back then. Again, I'm not sure if we, as weird as it sounds, we kind of fought the support as well, right? You want to be able to do this for your child. You want to be able to be able, you almost feel like a failure if you can't do everything on your own. But I'd like to think that if I'd known then what I know now, that yeah, it would have been nice to have the extra support for sure.
The extra support did eventually arrive in the form of caregivers.
The caregivers that we have that come in to help us with Meredith, they're not our biological family, but they have become family. One of our caregivers has been with us for about 16 years. So they stick around. She wraps them around her finger. Can you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row?
Yeah, I can do that. That's not a problem.
Okay.
I am Amanda McLeod, and I am Meredith's caregiver. I remember thinking they were really great, and I really wanted to be a part of this family. I really thought I'd fit in well, that we'd work well together, and over the years, I think we have worked well together. It just makes you feel good to know you're part of the family, and you're not just another employee.
How old was Meredith when you started?
She was 2.5 when I started. She had just turned 2 in December, and then I started in April.
Okay. Second mother to Meredith, for sure.
It's the simple things that make her smile that make me smile. You can just be silly, and she's happy. Those are my favorite memories.
Are you going for a little walk? Who is it? It's Nanny. So nice.
Another way Tim and Julie were able to find support was moving closer to Julie's parents.
Are you ready? Okay, let's go.
In a small town like Cobden, just over an hour from Ottawa in Renfrew County, they were also able to receive more focused care.
Here it comes. Oh, so nice.
Julie's father, Stan Keon.
Certainly with, I guess, the community health and the structure that they do have makes it, I'm not going to say easy, but makes it much easier as far as Meredith being where she is. You know, if we didn't have those services, I don't know what we would do.
You ready to keep going? Yeah. Okay, here we go. Here we go.
Julie's mother, Donna Keon.
And you know, we've Civitan here. They'd help out in any way if it's needed, or the Lions Club. And everybody in town, she walks, they bring out their dogs, they all get up and lick her face. You know, everybody knows her, you know. It's wonderful.
And good for you to be close to us so you can keep an eye on us. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ultimately, Meredith's care depends on the strength of the couple's individual health and, of course, their relationship.
That's good. Love you.
Love you too. We put our well-being and our health at the forefront of everything because we know that if we're not well, we cannot care for Meredith. And so that has been something that we have put a lot of energy into is keeping ourselves healthy and also our relationship. So that comes before everything.
The couple keeps their lines of communication very open.
About our fears and about, like we talk about plan A and plan B, and I think a lot of those conversations are forced on us, you know, because of our situation, but in a way it helps because it helps eliminate those barriers of those conversations that you probably wouldn't have unless you had to. So it also helps with the relationship as well, that you're that vulnerable and able to talk about those things.
And Tim's the only person that really gets what this is like because he's the only other parent. So we have these conversations that are pretty heavy conversations sometimes, but I think that, like Tim said, that has also helped us to get closer. I feel like we need to have a night away somewhere.
Yes.
I think these things can either make you or break you, and they do break a lot of couples, but I think we, right from the beginning, we're committed to Meredith.
I heard I'm keeping her straight this morning.
I know, she's really crooked.
The challenges Julie faces taking care of Meredith has had an impact on her work as well.
Oh, your hair looks so pretty. You don't care. You want to get up. I know. All right. Well, I would say that the last 17 years has really positively impacted the work that I do, for sure. Yeah, I think that I relate well to people, especially people that are going through, a sudden loss, or who are grieving, or just anything, that wherever you find yourself on the life cycle, just beginnings and endings and that kind of thing.
Who's that? Who's up in your tray? Who's that? Oh, hi, Angus. Hi,
Where's his tail? Look. Oh.
As the years have passed, the couple's outlook on life has taken on new meaning. Where there once was anxiety, apprehension, and fear, there is now reassurance.
I can read you a story. Do you want to read a story?
It's always hard to know how you would be developmentally as an adult, you know, if you naturally gain, you know, certain wisdom or whatever as you get older. But specific to Meredith, I think we have this different perspective about life. But now that we kind of have an understanding of how things will go, I think the anxiety has lessened, and now it's just... And now we're just like, you know, it's all gravy, you know. We're
Celebrate every good day.
Yeah, we celebrate. We just celebrate having her here.
Is it easier to watch a movie like that if you shake and shake and shake and shake and shake?
What does your shirt say? Awesome runs in the family. Yeah, you got that right. You got that right. There's a privilege, I think, that comes with living with the knowledge that this could end at any time. When you have a family member who is medically fragile, you know, it's in your face a little more. I just feel like we really understand the importance of living in the moment and cherishing all of those moments. Who's hi? And then look who's there. Oh, who's that?
Hello.
Host, Victoria Nolan. Producer, Emily Ramsay. Videographer, Jeremy Kennedy and Darcy Toni. Editor, Darcy Toni. Location sound mixer, Stephen Lorne. Integrated described video specialist, Simone Cupid. Audio post, Mark Phoenix. Graphics, Andrew Antonello. Senior producer, Michelle Dudas. President and CEO, David Arrington. Copyright 2022, Accessible Media, Inc.